Hey nerds, what's up? Happy New Year! And of course, because it is the new year, we have to do one of those obligatory year in review kind of videos, and I'm going to do my favorite games that I played over 2023, as well as my favorite aesthetically pleasing board games. I did this last year, so I will link those videos up there. Unlike last year's board game video, I'm not gonna do a top 10 list, I'm just gonna talk about some of my favorite board games in different categories like these. So, without further ado, let's get started. We had some exciting sequels that came out to some very popular board games, as well as, I wouldn't call them sequels, but campaign modes to add to certain board games. So here are those board games. All of these games I've talked about in one way or another on this channel, including a few of them being my favorite games of 2022. Dune Imperium is an excellent worker placement hand management game with end-of-round conflicts, deck building, and many other elements that just make this an excellent game. Each expansion that has come out has just added more complexity to the game and more world building to the theme of Dune. But this year, Dune Imperium's spin-off game, Dune Imperium Uprising, released. The board basically has the exact same layout as the original game. However, you'll notice many more features to the board, including spy placement spaces, a barrier surrounding the Imperial Basin, a new space, the Space Refinery, and Arakeen. There are new opportunities to create contracts, including in-game bonuses you can strive for throughout your game, and the biggest player has been added to the board, sandworms. Water becomes an even more important resource. Brand new cards, actions, and bonuses are ready to add to your deck. And with the new 6-player ability, 2 teams of 3 players can pit their all against each other in the ultimate struggle of galactic domination. I like to compare this game as Tears of the Kingdom versus Breath of the Wild, where even more abilities and complexity have been added to an already excellent game. Dune Imperium Uprising has been a favorited addition to our collection. The other exciting game that we've added to our board game stash is Expeditions, a Scythe sequel. It's a modular tile board that still pays homage to the original game of Scythe with the hexagonal shapes of the tiles. There's the gorgeous artwork and world, and some of our favorite characters coming back in playing card form. We get 5 different awesome mechs to choose from, with each one having a different character bonus. Your goal is still the same as the original Scythe, be the first to collect the most stars, but the way to collect those stars is quite unique. You are fighting against the corruption that is spreading throughout the lands, using power and guile to do so. To gain more power, you'll be collecting different types of cards, meteorites, workers, items, and quests, each type bringing either in-game bonuses, building up your power and guile, or getting you one step closer to those stars. This is a hand-managing, tableau-building game where you can stack bonuses on top of another to help you get closer to victory. It still contains that Scythe feel while using slightly different gameplay, but keeping those core Scythe elements. It's been a very fun addition to the Scythe franchise. Speaking of adding to franchises, we played a few campaign versions of some of our favorite games. I talked about Call to Adventure Epic Origins in a separate video, but just to re-emphasize, there's 7 unique scenarios and adversaries that the players have to work together to defeat. It's very similar playing style to the adversaries in the original game, but with a few twists along the way. Just opening up the envelopes and reading the small flavor cards really makes it a fun experience to go through and adds a small campaign that isn't too long or overwhelming to complete. I really enjoyed adding this expansion to our original game. It gives us a ton of different story outcomes and choices to play with, and I love the addition of the heritage cards that add those classic D&D classes that add to the overall storytelling element of the game. The most anticipated campaign mode, for me at least, was the Lost Ruins of Arnak, the Missing Expedition. While you still use your original game board, Missing Expedition brings unique research tracks, a campaign sheet to keep track of all the different paths you can choose, and of course, a full-fledged story. Each scenario brings about a certain set of rules and objectives that you have to go for. The fun part is, there's usually only 1 or 2 main objectives that you have to complete in order to win the scenario. But there are other bonus objectives that you can strive for in order to unlock new items and artifacts. Your overall score at the end of the whole campaign also impacts how the story ends. But you don't have to win each scenario either. You can take a loss and just start the next scenario with a disadvantage, kind of like D&D, which makes the whole campaign more fun. With 2 new expedition leaders as well that can be added to the original game or used here in the campaign, this game just brings so many new and exciting elements to Arnak. With so many paths to go down, scores, and objectives to achieve, this campaign mode actually asks to be played more than once, which makes it that much more of a good purchase in my opinion, not just a one-and-done situation. Learning more about the lore of Arnak and the unique ways the campaign utilizes all of the pieces of this game really makes this an excellent addition to the Lost Ruins of Arnak. Here are some new and notable games that easily became some of my new favorites of 2023. 2023 and 2022 gave us some excellent new games to try out, but these are the specific ones that stood out to me and have easily become one of my faves to play. Heat Pedal to the Metal was actually one of the last games I played in 2023, but it was so much fun, and I can absolutely see us competing in the championship version of this game. You are a racer and trying to come out in first place, obviously, but you have to keep track of the heat of your engine through hand management. You'll be pushing your luck by playing higher valued cards to get into first place, but turning those sharp corners might overheat your engine and cause you to spin out. This very thematic game, using gear shifts, heat management, and the overall racing vibe is just the right amount of immersiveness to this board game, and it makes it stand out as a fun racing board game. Not to mention, I didn't even get to try these elements out, which are customizations you can add to your cars, weather and road conditions that will affect your overall race. I'm very excited to dive right back into this game and see if I can come out in first. Stonemeyer's new game, Apiary, has me facing against two of my biggest fears, bees and space. But actually, this unique worker placement, tile placement game has a lot to offer. You can explore planets to gather resources for your hive, upgrade your worker bees to unlock more places on the board, and collect different types of worker bees, carvings, and technologies to advance your hive to be the best, and gain the queen bee's favor to have the most victory points. You can also create bee dances, which is an adorable fact about bees, where if others use your dance to collect resources, you also receive an extra bonus. I've definitely never played a worker placement game quite like this, and with the worker bee advancement, you can cause other player bees to hibernate, opening more spaces for your workers, but you're also balancing your worker placement versus collecting your resources. The complexity of the game is just right. Stonemeyer continues to impress with their newest game. Coming back from space and landing on our beloved planet, Earth, was another game that really stuck out to me. This hand management tableau building game has a pretty simple rule system, but with a massive pool of cards, in-game and end-game bonuses, it creates so many strategic possibilities. Working your way to create a 4x4 card grid, you have 4 types of moves to either add to your grid, collect soil to be able to play your cards, recycle cards, or grow your different resources, adding so much variety to this game, and not to mention a plethora of ways to gain victory points. With beautiful photographs of our world, all of the flora and fauna, I felt like a scientist creating a unique notebook of research, finding patterns in the way nature works. The stackable trunks and canopies to finish off your flora are so tactile and satisfying to place. The recycling of cards and achievable bonuses add a satisfying rotation of your hand of cards and can help you find so many ways to achieve your points. I don't know how many rounds of this game I played this year, but each one was unique and just as fun as the last. From the natural beauty of our world, let's take a look at the amazing wonders that humans have been able to create. In this game, World Wonders. This strategic, Tetris-like tile placing game has you choosing specific tiles from a community pool of city tiles. Each district type is identified by a different color, giving you a certain amount of resources with each tile you place. You connect your districts through roads, an important part of any civilization. The more you add to your city, the more populated and advanced it will get. Each tile costs a certain amount of money that will reload at the end of the round, and to add to your city, you can place the myriad of historic wonders, though you do have to meet the requirements in order to place them. Be careful how you spend your money, because you could miss out while the other players deplete their gold slower than you. Once everyone's money is out, the round ends, and a new selection of tiles and wonders will be placed in the pool. The player who reaches their max population limit starts the game end, and whoever has the best city, the most spaces filled, will be claimed the winner. The strategy of this game is simple enough with many different ways your city can turn out. With the Wonder miniatures, it just adds that little extra touch to your ancient city, and it's just a good family game overall. Another city building game, and probably my favorite new game of this year, is Rolling Heights. A tile placement meeple rolling, the first for me, resource collecting and stacking game is just a whole lot of fun. The satisfying stacking of cubes to create a city skyline is probably the most appealing part of this game, with collecting different types of meeples, depending on how they land, will grant you a certain amount of resources, rerolls, or other bonuses. With the different types of buildings you can work on, residential, civic, parks, and more, there are many ways to strategize your city, and not to mention aiming for end-game bonuses that will make this game a fun and different experience every time. I've really enjoyed this game this year, and just with the right amount of strategy, aesthetics, and push your luck. Here are some fun, quick games that I really enjoyed playing this year. These games were always great ones to play for those quick visits, warm-up games, and palate cleansers between meatier games. Seven Wonders Architects is a great variation of the original game, with the different types of card types, aiming to build your wonder, but with a simpler game mechanic than drafting. You only get to choose from your neighbor's stack of cards, hoping to have enough resources or coin to build each piece of your wonder. The first to fully build their wonder wins the game. I feel like this is a bit of an easier and digestible game than even the Seven Wonders itself, because you don't have to deal with as many types of cards or the variation of your wonder's abilities. It's definitely a family-friendly game. Fantasy Realms has been a great go-to open drafting card game. Each card and card type has a certain ability and states what it does on that card. The strategy is straightforward, but with the myriad of card types, there are many strategic possibilities, making this game different every time. I specifically love the artwork of my version of Fantasy Realms, and you can add more to the game with the cursed items and magical creatures. And the game can only last for so many rounds, depending on how fast you get to 10 cards in your pool. Another open drafting game is Raw. Instead of cards, you're collecting tiles. You get 3 rounds to collect as many tiles as possible in order to get the highest score. With each type of tile and how they individually score adds just the right amount of strategy, but you're at the mercy of what comes to the community pool, and if you have the right numbers to bid to get those tiles you want. I love the tactile feelings of the tiles, the overall theme of this game, and again, it's just the perfect combo of strategy and luck of the game. Finally, as a quick roundup, here are some of our tried and true games that we have loved to play. These are the games that we have been playing all throughout the year and will continue to be playing into the next year as well. Dune Imperium, like I said, is a great hand management, worker placement game with just the right amount of complexity and a great theme overall. I don't know if Dune Imperium Uprising will be replacing Dune Imperium because they're so similar in their mechanics, but again, Uprising is a bit more complicated, but you can add all of the Dune Imperium original pieces to Uprising. So it's just a great addition to the overall game. But that's why we love Dune Imperium Uprising, is because Dune Imperium itself is such a great game. Frosthaven, as always, is just a great, close as you can possibly get to D&D campaign style game. You can continue to advance and rearrange your main hand in order to battle and defeat enemies, which is just such a cool element of this game. Makes it that much more exciting to continue on an adventure, to advance your character, to strengthen them, continuing our adventure, fortifying Frosthaven, unlocking new characters, and just enjoying our overall adventure together. If you watched my most recent organizing board games video, I talked about that we have been doing a tapestry tournament, getting through all of the different civilizations. It's such a fun game of advancement and tile placing, hand management, tableau building, Tetris tile placement, just all with the overall theme of building your civilization. Again, I talked about this last year in our Fave games of 2022. It's just such a fun game with enough complexity, and it just has a lot of fun elements, and again, kind of creates that life simulation element that I really enjoy in games. That's Very Clever has been probably our go-to introductory game that we bring to any new board game friends that we make. It's such an updated version of Yahtzee that's competitive towards each other. It's not just your individual rolling scores. You actually affect what the other players' results are going to be, which just makes it that much more competitive and fun. So that one is a great dice rolling game that also isn't too long to play. So like I said, a great introductory board game. And I can't leave out one of my favorite games of all time, Wingspan. Just a beautiful collection of birds, as well a set collecting game, hand management game with beautiful tactile resources, laying eggs. I have talked about this game at length in my aesthetically pleasing games, as well as just my favorite games overall. It's truly a wonderful addition to our board game collection, and it's a very fun, not too overly complicated game, and it is beautiful. How many of these games have you nerds own or have been able to play over this past year? I would love to know down below. And of course, any new and notable games that you are able to play that I didn't mention in this video, please let me know down below. I love everyone sharing each other's opinions and their favorite games, and that just brings us more together and be able to explore more board games as a board game community. So it's super awesome that you guys do that, and I really appreciate every comment and like that you guys give. And of course, like I said, I'm making an aesthetically pleasing board game video as well, so stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. I almost forgot, I have to read out the list of board games that I played over 2023. I'm both very shocked and excited to say that I almost doubled the amount of board games I played from last year, which was 50. Here's the list of the 80 games that I played over 2023. Seven Wonders Architects, Apiary, Biblios Quill and Parchment, Boomerang USA, Call to Adventure Epic Origins, Casting Shadows, Chameleon, Champions of Midgard, Clank Catacombs, Cobra Paw, Dice Miner, Diced Veggies, Dominion Empires and Plunder, as well as Dominion Allies, Dream Home, Dune Imperium and Dune Imperium Uprising, Earth, Everdell, Fantasy Realms, Flamecraft, Frosthaven, Hanafuda, Heat, Pedal to the Metal, Honeybuzz, Horrified Greek Monsters, Jaipur, King of Tokyo, Lacrimosa, Las Vegas Royals, Likewise, Longshot, Lost Ruins of Arnak, The Missing Expedition, Marvel Dice Throne, Meadow, Mysterium, Nerds, Obscurio, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, Pass the Pigs, Patchwork, Quartz, Raw, Race for the Galaxy, Rat-a-Tat-Cat, Rolling Heights, Rolling Realms, Sagrada, Santa's Workshop, Scythe Expeditions, Silver and Gold, Skyjo, Splendor, Spots, Starry Night Sky, Sushi Roll, Suspicion, Take 5, Tapestry, Tea Dragon Society, Temporum, That's Very Clever, The Mind, Ticket to Ride, Rails and Sails, Tiny Towns, Tokaido, Trails, Trash, Trekking Through History, Tribes of the Wind, Twice as Clever, Utter Nonsense, Wayfarers of the South Tigris, Wingspan, Wizard, World Wonders, and Yahtzee.